Harold, how the devil are we?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic,
I'm excited
mate.
to be here today.
Absolutely ecstatic, mate. Bouncing off the walls. Can't wait to get into it. Tonight's show, we want to talk about why the collective always beats the individual in modern football. Mate, what's your thoughts on that? Do you agree, disagree? Where do you stand?
Totally agree. I think it's to a point now where elite level coaching is such a level that it is just, you cannot win now with just a galactical approach.
No, absolutely not. Mate, just on a quick one. Did you see the Carragher and... Well, firstly, the Carragher-Keane. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Who side you on?
Carragher.
Yeah? More insightful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Keane's a little bit emotional.
Do you know what? With that, just want to quickly say, I see both sides because the person in me, the Man United fan in me, is I don't care whether it was a wrong decision or not. I'm so glad we signed Ronaldo, and that sounds really silly. That contradicts everything I'm going to say for the next half an hour. But I do think you had to sign Ronaldo who was available, whether it was right or not. I think you had to just get him. But what Carragher's saying is absolutely right.
Yeah.
If you're not going to win the big trophies, having run a 37-year-old Ronaldo for 3 years not winning anything, you may as well just get Mason Greenwood to be a superstar.
You might as well bet Sancho and Greenwood in. I do get it. Having said that, on the basis of the fact, the straight question, is it going to make you a better side? Is he going to score you 20 goals? Yes, he is. You have to bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
I do see both sides. I'm absolutely adamant I see both sides of that. What about Carragher against Ferdinand? Did you see any of that?
Yes, mate, and that's what I want to mention. So basically, for any of you listening, I haven't seen it, on Rio Ferdinand's own podcast that he does, he's basically said, on that debate that we just mentioned to do with Keane and Carragher, that when Jamie Carragher talks about winning the leagues, he just mutes it because Carragher has never won the league and he's never guided a team to a league title, so he can't talk about it. Now, that logic is flawed. I think you'll agree with me in a million different ways.
What he's basically saying is no fan is allowed an opinion.
Yeah, what he's basically saying is, if you're a top journalist, so Henry Winter's not allowed to talk about winning league titles. Ollie Holt's not allowed to talk about winning league titles. Guillaume Balaguer is not allowed to talk about winning league titles. Award-winning journalists that are bang on the money, time after time after time, exceptional, because they haven't won it. For starters, that's one reason why it's nonsense. And the other thing, I could give you 10, 20, 30 examples of players, ex-players that have won the Premier League that if they were talking about football in the back garden, I'd draw the curtain.
Oh, name and shame. No, not really. We're not going to get into that.
Okay, I'm not going to get into that, but there's a couple, and you all know who they are.
Yeah, of course.
That have been very good footballers, exceptional elite footballers, that as pundits are
horrendous,
very, very bad to listen to, and you disagree with virtually every word that comes out of their mouth.
Horrendous, and on that basis of Rio Ferdinand's logic, I don't ever want to see him pundit in on a World Cup, and that's not to be nasty or stick a knife in, because I'm an Englishman. I'd have loved it if he won the World Cup, but on that basis, he cannot. Listen, mate, getting on to the task at hand, collective against the individuals. Just want to talk about a couple of examples, really. Obviously, start with Chelsea. Chelsea had good individuals. We knew that under Frank Lampard. We said that on the show. They did have a good individuals within their squad, and obviously Thomas Tuchel is utilising the same squad that Frank Lampard had at his disposal, and look at what he's getting out of them. I think that's probably the best example, relevant example right now of collective over individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And then contrary to that, if you take a very relevant example, as they played on the weekend, I think Man United. Because I think Man United, pound for pound, when the players were signed for Man United, you probably measure it against when Salah, Mane, or Jota came to Liverpool, all against probably ahead at the same point of the signings being made. But Liverpool are a well-oiled, well-structured machine. So are Man City, so are Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, PSG to a certain degree.
100%.
Or not.
That's it. If you look at the two games this week that I want to highlight, so obviously the Chelsea-Manchester United game yesterday, if you had a blank sheet of paper, form aside, form massively exacerbates and changes a combined 11 if you were making it. It does it all the time. It does. Week to week it will change. Blank sheet of paper, you're picking a combined Man United and Chelsea 11. I think Rafael Varane plays.
Well, it's dependent on formation first, isn't it? If you're going forward back, Varane, Guire, every chance of getting in.
Yeah, I think Luke Shaw, I know Chilwell's been superb over the last 18 months.
He gets picked ahead of him for England, rightly so. I think most people would have edged with Luke Shaw, very close, but they would have edged with Luke Shaw.
Yeah. You look at players like Bruno Fernandes over the last 18 months, as horrendous as he was yesterday.
EPN.
EPN.
Yeah.
Ronaldo or Lukaku. I don't think you can go
I think
Lukaku.
Ronaldo would,
You
yeah.
would.
And even players like Mason Mount playing left of the front three, you're probably looking to go Marcus Rashford.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
Sancho or
Yeah, Mason Greenwood on the last sort of years of form. I know the last few weeks he hasn't played, but I think he's a superstar, absolute superstar. So you can make every case to have as many Man United players in as Chelsea on an individual basis. If you watched the game yesterday, proves what we're trying to say, to the nth degree. That Chelsea side are so exceptionally well coached, well organised. The intensity that they play at in comparison to Manchester United, the application, the fluidity, the energy, how fit they are, how everyone knows their job, everyone knows what inch of the pitch to be stood at any given time, the way they dominate, the confidence, every single thing that Manchester United lacked, Chelsea have in abundance, and that is proves why this Galactico approach that a lot of teams are sort of taking because the coach isn't quite right. They just think we'll just keep throwing money at it, keep getting elite players. You can do that all you like. These teams, the elite teams in Europe, are too good that I don't care who you've got playing. When they are coached to that level, you just won't win.
Do you know what? Feeding into that idea, and obviously I don't think it was as important historically. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I think there's a lot of examples of great individuals within sides and perhaps not having the same level of coaching as they've got now. So good individuals did used to win you things, correct? Like you look at the Galacticos of the past, and I think Thierry Henry at Arsenal was a prime example of that. They did play good football. I'm not trying to knock that, of course they did, but I think in this day and age, the collective very much is much more important than the individuals. And I think that all stems from the coaching. And the point I'm getting at here, I think a great coach is actually more important than great players now, to a certain degree. I don't know what your take is on that.
Absolutely.
I can't help but feel like you look at, we always talk about collectively, I mean worldwide, everybody talks about Tuchel, Klopp and Guardiola. Those three sides are three of the best four sides in the world, Bayern Munich being the fourth. All four of them, exceptional coaches over the last 3-4 year period. There's a reason they are where they are. It all stems from the top.
I totally agree. I think the manager, and this comes back to what we had a conversation the other day. I said about Pochettino having to buy him out of his contract at PSG. I said it might cost 10-11 million pounds. Would be an absolute steal. Would be daylight robbery.
You put it to me about Jurgen Klopp.
How much would you take if PSG, if Leonardo arrived at Liverpool Airport tomorrow morning, turned up at Anfield, speaking to John Emery, and said, "Look, we want Klopp.
Yeah.
How much do you want? Would you take 50 million for him?"
No, not a chance. Well, realistically, you use the Van Dijk analogy. If somebody comes along with 80 million for Van Dijk, you turn to F off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not a chance. Well, if you had to do without one, would you do without Van Dijk or Klopp? You'd do without Van Dijk.
100%.
So,
100%.
On that basis, how much do you want for Jurgen Klopp? 100 million. No, you're alright. What are you going to do with 100 million?
Exactly. Do you know what you do? You buy a player that doesn't make as much of an impact on the team as Jurgen Klopp. Kevin De Bruyne is, in my mind, one of the 3 best players in the world. Or at least one of the 5. I think he's exceptionally good. Pep Guardiola is more important for Manchester City than Kevin De Bruyne. Yet, if PSG bid 150 million for Kevin De Bruyne, they would be told categorically, no, we are not interested. So, in my opinion, you're probably moving into an era now where managers will stop being undervalued, and you might see I guess the difference is managers are 5 games away from a sack at any given point. Yeah. So that does probably artificially lower the value that they would hold in monetary terms. But the value, if you can make an accurate comparison, you're absolutely right. Mo Salah or Jurgen Klopp. Mo Salah's probably the best player in the world right now. I know that's a tough one, and that does get quite tough. Klopp you take Klopp out of that team, they automatically drop 10-15%. Automatically. The elite level coaches in Europe at this moment are so vital that they exceed any value given by any player. I don't care if that's Messi, Ronaldo, or Van Dijk.
Man City, the level of individuals they've got right now is no better or no worse. It's of the same standard as it was under Pellegrini, for example. The standard of individuals has been there for the best part of a decade. The difference is the coaching, the collective,
Absolutely.
the way that they work as a unit. That's why this Man City era is the best Premier League side I've personally seen. Exceptional. Liverpool run them very close, but Man City have been at it for 5 years now. Very much stems from the top. And there are many examples of the collective being the individuals. What I'm going to put to you now, I want to talk about Brighton. Brighton getting a lot of stick on the weekend. You put out on our official TikTok channel, which I'll put a link to below, about Graham Potter and getting booed off by the Brighton fans at the weekend. Which, firstly, just touching on that without giving too much away from your video, that is another disgrace. But you look at Graham Potter, he imprints an identity on the club. There's a way of playing, there's a way of doing things. You know, if you're asking the everyday man to name 5 Brighton players, just go down to the local pub and ask him to name 5 Brighton players. He's probably struggling. They go to Old Trafford tomorrow. I bet they have more the ball.
Absolutely. They play the better of the football. They have more of an identity and you know exactly what you're getting. Do you know what? A great point about Brighton. Dan Burn plays left wing back for Brighton.
6'7".
6'7", left wing back.
Yeah.
He is a giant of a man.
Yeah.
Played Liverpool twice. In the last, I think the last 2 times they played Liverpool were both at Anfield. I don't think they lost on either occasion. Dan Burn was flying forward like Roberto Carlos in his prime, like Ashley Cole, like whoever you want to say, knowing that Mo Salah was behind him. He was defending his halfway line with Mo Salah stood 5 yards from him, knowing darn well that Mo Salah get into a foot race and he's in trouble. The point I'm making about the coaching, why it's so exceptional, and it can go all across Europe, countless examples. Ruben Diaz did not care a hoot that he was playing against Mbappe, Neymar, Messi on Tuesday or Wednesday night. It did not affect the way he approached the game. He still defended the halfway line. He still was aggressive. He still wanted the ball. Dan Burn, at a different end of the spectrum, I'm not saying he's elite defence, he's very good. Obviously, he's not the elite. Playing Liverpool, playing against Mo Salah, one of the best players in Europe for the last 4 years, it didn't affect him. Konate for Liverpool at Old Trafford 3-4 weeks ago. First away game I think he played for Liverpool was at 22, 23 years old. Playing against Cristiano Ronaldo, Mason Greenwood, Rashford, Sancho, Bruno Fernandes, a lot of pace, a lot of talent on paper. He didn't even blink. It did not affect the way he approached the game. And you can go on and on and on and talk about Thiago Silva or Chalobah, young lad at Chelsea playing Juventus, Chiesa just won the Euros for Italy. He didn't even blink. He approached it the same way. And that is why, on all these occasions I'm talking about, the team that stayed true to what they wanted to do won the game.
100%. Just quickly, and you mentioned PSG there, and I think PSG are the greatest example of this. Obviously, we've got Man United, a lot of individual good players, but obviously collective, and it hasn't worked, and maybe that will change under Ralph. But PSG, we both tipped them to probably be favourites for the Champions League starting the year, and I can still see why. Great individuals and things like that. Having watched them this season, how do you assess their chances now?
I think we spoke at the start of the season that when they signed Messi, that it was already done, didn't we?
You said about a 1 in 4 chance.
The way I see it, mate, briefly, I think there's 4 teams better than them. If they only have to play one of those 4 teams in the knockout stages, say, they have to play one of those teams between the second round and the semi-final and get to a final, they're in with a hell of a chance because they've got a lot of talent. If they have to play Chelsea in one round, Man City in another, Liverpool in another, they've got no hope in hell as far as I'm concerned. Because they're just...
And individually, they've got the best squad in Europe, haven't they?
I think by a country mile. I think if you were doing like an auction, I think if you were picking a sort of Harlem Globetrotters 11, it would probably have four PSG players.
This comes back to the idea of, in modern football, players having to buy into a philosophy, players having to work for the team, not being able to carry anyone. PSG carrying 3 players. Very well documented. People know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know here. PSG carrying 3 players. Brighton don't carry a player. Do you know what I mean? You talk about Brighton. Tottenham, another one. Do Tottenham have better players than Brighton? Of course they do. Of course they do.
Sorry, who said the Brighton have better players than Tottenham?
No, Tottenham have better players than Brighton.
Absolutely.
Who'd win a game of football if they played tomorrow?
I think Brighton would.
Yeah, 100% they would.
Last season, I watched them at the Amex back end of last season, just before Josie got the sack. Tottenham couldn't get the ball. It was men against boys, and like you said, the players that Tottenham have in comparison. What you said about the philosophy is absolutely right. In Brighton, again, I'll go back to it. Dan Burn. They don't make an exception that Dan Burn's 6'7". They still try and defend the halfway line. They still press. They're still aggressive. It's about the team philosophy, and you either take the bus or get involved. The top teams do not make exceptions for footballers.
Do you know, you said to me at Leeds, you said, I don't even know how good half their players are.
No, not good.
And that's because you reckon as a collective, everybody buys into it. You don't get to expose anybody on an individual basis. You see the team as a collective. They're not so much this season. They've struggled a bit this season. But looking at them last season, as a collective, they're a good team.
Absolutely. I couldn't tell you how good Luke Ayling is.
I could. He played for Bristol City. Bloody good, mate.
My point is, I take your point.
League One winner.
No, he was. And that game, he won that. Did he put that up at Leeds? He scored and he celebrated like he just won. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, Luke Ayling could be good enough to play for Chelsea, or he might leave Leeds and go back to Bristol City. I have no idea how good he is, because that Leeds side, playing for that Leeds side, I feel like every player is playing at 150% of their potential because of the collective, because of the energy, because of the fitness, because of the attitude of them. I have no idea how good they are. Rafinha, he does look a player, don't get me wrong. This sounds silly. Rafinha could be good enough to play for Liverpool, or he might just be a run-of-the-mill sort of bottom half table back. I have no idea because he plays for Leeds. I just don't know.
No, it's a true point.
Just to end on, we spoke about the collective and how important that is, and modern coaches, modern philosophies are very much structured on the approach rather than the players. Ralph Rangnick just come into Man United, obviously announced today formally that he's agreed by the club. All the Tuchel, Klopp, a lot of the young German coaches talk about him in such a high regard, which I'm surprised about because I didn't know a lot about him.
No, I didn't. No, not at all.
That he's got a clear philosophy of pressing, of being aggressive, of this gegenpress or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, Klopp, Tuchel, and Nagelsmann, etc.
The fact that he clearly understands this, the collective and the approach is key. Is Ronaldo going to be shoehorned into that and made an exception for when he comes in, bearing in mind by far the biggest personality at Manchester United when he walks in the door? Or is he going to spend quite a lot of this season watching from the stands?
That is a fantastic question. I'll pull it back to you. If you were playing a game of chess, you sacrificed the queen to win the game?
No.
No? You'd rather lose?
Rather lose. Keep Ronaldo happy. No, you're right, mate. Ultimately, that it comes down to what's more important, Cristiano Ronaldo or Manchester United, and if that, if it comes at the expense of Ronaldo, you have to make that decision. I don't think it's that easy.
It is definitely not that easy, but we will see when Ralph Rangnick comes in if he can pull it off. And Man United can, in fact, win the league. Or not.
This is full-on football.